part 3 of our teamwork chapter for our human relations course. So in this part 3 video, we will look at team dynamics and also team dysfunctions. So trying to understand a little bit more about how teams work together and what might cause good results. So first of all, we have team dynamics. And I think most of us who are listening here today have been on a team. And sometimes you have been on a team that is dysfunctional. And so that would be explained by the team dynamics of the team you were on. So team dynamics refers to how each individual team member and their behaviors within a group or a team affect the other members and the team as a whole. So you have been on a team and there is this one person who's always grumpy. That's gonna spread. That's gonna be contagious, and other people might become grumpy too. You had that person who was always upbeat with a positive attitude, commenting on when the team did well, complimenting team members, recognizing team members. Of course, that will also influence how we work together as a team. And so that is what is meant by team dynamics, is how we and our behaviors influence other people on the team and then the team as a whole. We also have the 5 dysfunctions of a team on this slide, and that came from Patrick Lencioni and his work and the book Five Dysfunctions of a Team. And Patrick Lencioni came up with 5 things that need to exist for a team to be productive and to work well. And if we don't have those 5 things, we will be dysfunctional. So the first one is absence of trust. The second one is fear of conflict. The third one is lack of commitment. 4, avoidance of accountability. And 5, and finally, inattention to results. So let's take a look at that in a little bit more detail. So, absence of trust, that is our first dysfunction. And this happens when the team members, the people on the team, don't trust each other. And they don't want to be vulnerable, and they don't want to speak up. They don't want to say when they need help or when a mistake has happened. They don't trust each other, actually. And so when you have this absence of trust, it's very hard to move on and to achieve the results that we need to achieve, right? Because without trust, there is much we are missing. So that is the first one, and that is at the bottom of the pyramid. Secondly, we have something that's called fear of conflict. And this might seem a little bit crazy, right? Because usually we think of conflict as being something very negative. But of course, we need conflict on a team. It just needs to be the functional type of conflict. That is when we're talking about tasks and processes, the things that we can talk about openly and disagree on that actually makes the results, the productivity better. So when we have a fear of conflict, we are not talking about things openly, and we call that artificial harmony. We are not discussing real issues. We are avoiding talking to each other. We are not speaking up. We are not listening. We have maybe back channeling going on. We have people texting each other under the table or talking in the hallway. And that is definitely not the open and candid dialogue that we need. The third dysfunction, which is the light green box in the middle here, is the lack of commitment. And that often comes as a result of fear of conflict, right? Because we can't openly talk about things in our meetings or in the team setting. We don't have direction. And because we don't have direction, we don't have commitment, because we don't know where we are going together as a group. And so we don't commit, we don't know what the goal is, people are not involved in the decision making, and so that commitment is just lacking. The fourth one then is a lack of accountability. And an avoidance of accountability shows up because people are not wanting to take accountability, and we are also not holding one another accountable. So if you are not doing your work, I am not going to call you out because, again, we don't trust each other. We don't talk about things in the team. We are not committed to where we're going. And certainly, so I'm not going to hold you to certain standards. So here we are accepting mediocrity. We are not taking action or initiatives or responsibilities. And of course, if nobody's taking accountability and we are avoiding it, clearly, number 5 here, the results are not going to show up. So when we are also have an inattention to results, we tend to focus on our own personal agenda, our ego, our own department, task, unit, and to make sure that that gets done. And we don't care much about the team goals. And so these are the 5 dysfunctions that need to be overcome, starting with the trust. So, what are some strategies that we can incorporate to have better team dynamics? Certainly, we need to make sure that we build trust, which is the second sub bullet point here. We need to be able to not, or we need to be able to show people that they can speak up. There is no negative consequences. We are not going to harm them professionally from speaking up, from making errors. There needs to be trust there. We also need to have integrity. We need to say things and then follow up on those. And we need to show with our actions and our behaviors that we are doing the things we said we were going to do. We need to hold the best interest of each person on the team at the forefront. So we make sure we take care of them, we value them and their work. We also need to have clear deadlines and goals so people know where they're going. We need to be able to speak up openly and to have healthy conflict and to acknowledge each other and to hear them and their concerns without negative consequences. We need to avoid blocking behaviors, and that will be on our next slide. There are some blocking personalities that people engage in that stops the information flow, such as being too aggressive or giving inappropriate comments, etc. If problems show up in the team, address them quickly. Try to solve everything when it shows up because otherwise it will fester. We will create a culture where people are comfortable, right? If they ask for help, help them. Try to figure out what we can do to move forward and to solve problems. Again, we are not going to penalize mistake. We're going to fix things if they break, and we're going to do that with a positive attitude, and we're going to focus on what's best for the people and the team. Open and honest feedback means we reward people for the results. We acknowledge when they have efforts towards the goal. And if they're not performing, then we need to have constructive feedback so that they can actually do better. So we're not criticizing people. We're not pointing out their personality flaws. We're helping them with the results and their behaviors. And also we should avoid letting people free ride because that will hurt the morale of the team. So here are the blocking personalities that I just talked about on the other slide. So difficult team members might have blocking personalities, and a blocking personality is that personality that makes it hard to accomplish team goals. And these can come in a variety of forms, but essentially this behavior prevents the flow of information among team members. And these blocking personalities include, as you see in bold black here, the aggressor, the negator, the withdrawer, the recognition seeker, and the joker. So the aggressor would be the person who's very outspoken, maybe too outspoken, so other people don't have a chance to speak up and to share. They're too aggressive in communication. The negator is critical of other people's ideas, puts them down. The withdrawer just sits in a corner and says nothing, contributes very, very little to the conversation and to the team. The recognition seeker, this role really thinks about themselves, and they tend to be dominant in their speaking and their behaviors. And then the joker. Of course, humor is a good tool to lighten the mood in a team, but there's a time and a place for joking. So it can be distracting if it's used too much or in situations where we need to be serious. And there's a lot of reasons that would explain why a person has a blocking personality or why they're being difficult. So many factors would explain it. Maybe they are burned out. Maybe they have a lot of caregiving responsibilities at home. Maybe they don't have good relationships on the team, etc. Right? So people don't just show up to a team wanting to be difficult, but there's a lot of things going on in people's lives. And so trying to understand what is going on might help us. So having a conversation with them about what is going on, trying to solve it and follow up might help some of these blocking personalities be removed. Not removing the person, but these behaviors. So, of course, what's in it for us, right? Obviously, most of us will be working on a team at some point. And even if we're not a team, being able to work with other individuals, collaborating, communicating is very, very important. So, these team dynamics and the team strategies, understanding the team dysfunctions, are very useful for us in our careers, regardless of our industry, regardless of our job. So for our exercises here, choose one of the strategies and think about how you can create better team dynamics for a team that you're on. Put together a plan on how you could do this with your team. And you can do that from two different perspectives. First, from the perspective of a team member, and second, from the perspective of being the team leader. Even if you're not, it's a good exercise to think about how you would manage that if you were the team leader. Secondly, here, think back all the way back to chapter 1, and those videos are up on YouTube in my channel. When we talked about the variety of personality tests, right? The Myers-Briggs, the Big Five, etc. Think about that chapter and the personality test results that you had. Do a self-reflection on how your personality might positively and negatively impact team dynamics. And if you haven't done a personality test yet, just Google them or go to my videos. Let me know if you can't find them, because I had some links in there. And then find your personality first. So in summary, team dynamics refers to people's personalities and behaviors and how they affect the team. Lencioni came up with the 5 dysfunctions of a team: absence of trust, fear of conflict, lack of commitment, avoidance of accountability, and inattention to results. There are several blocking personality that can negatively affect team dynamics, and there are several strategies that we can use to deal with challenging team members. So with that, we will be wrapping up, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.